Here's a story. It's 1986 and a woman is undergoing cancer surgery. The surgery is a complete success. The cancer is removed and a full recovery is expected. Only she doesn't think so. She's still convinced something is wrong. So she has a chat with her surgeon who's like, look love, you're completely fine. And then she has a chat with her psychiatrist who, I don't know, gives her some pills or something. Anyway, she's absolutely convinced that she's still sick. Then one day she's having a chat with her surgeon and she suddenly blurts out, but the black stuff, you didn't get all the black stuff. And this is where things get really interesting. Her doctor, as you'd expect, doesn't have a clue what she's on about. So he does the sensible thing and recommends some more pills. But then he remembers. During the surgery, the surgeon casually complained to a colleague about some black mold in his bathroom that he just couldn't seem to remove no matter what he tried. But the woman was meant to be unconscious during this conversation, so how could she have heard those words? And why did she think the mold was inside her? It doesn't make any sense. And this isn't the only example of this happening. An Aussie journalist called Kate Cole-Adams has collected heaps of examples in her book Anesthesia, The Gift of Oblivion and the Mystery of Consciousness. From the woman who became suicidal after a surgeon called her fat partway through a surgery, to the musician who regained consciousness while having surgery on his eyeball, but he couldn't speak or move to alert anyone. Surgery on his eyeball. He woke up with a knife in his eye and he couldn't even scream. So the next time you're having a bad day, just imagine there's a scalpel wedged between your eyelids and chill the f out. Anyway, what Kate's book tells us is not only is this phenomenon of waking anesthesia absolutely terrifying, it's also weirdly common. One study in 2014 estimated that 1 in 19,000 uses of anesthesia results in somebody waking up. With C-sections, this jumps to 1 in 670. Why, I hear you ask? No idea. I should probably have Googled that. Now, 1 in 19,000 uses really doesn't sound like very much. I'll be the first to admit that, until you consider just how frequently anesthesia is actually being used.
We can do this reliably on a day-to-day basis.
This is Professor Emery Brown of the Harvard Medical School. He's basically like the Shakespeare or the Mozart of anesthesiology. He's not the first person to do it, but he is good at it.
As I said, 60,000 people a day get some form of anesthesia across in the United States.
60,000 people every single day. So the 4 years of algebra I did in high school tells me that that's up to 3 people every day waking up, well, like this.
All right, team, everybody good? Anesthesia good? Okay. Sam, I'll need you to help. Hey, get some. Everything was going really well, getting him draped in, going on, and then all of a sudden that horse woke up. You know what they say about anesthesia? Hours of boredom mixed with moments of sheer terror.
Yep, sounds about right. Anyway, so by now you're probably thinking, what the hell is going on?
What the hell is going on?
That is a good question. And in order to answer it, we need to understand a bit more about what anesthesia actually is. And what it isn't is simply going to sleep.
What anesthesia really is a coma. It's a drug-induced, reversible coma that has these 4 components. You're unconscious, you don't feel pain, you're not moving, and you form no memory about what's going on during the time that you're under the anesthesia.
Okay, cool.
We maintain stability and control of the physiological systems. Because if I took the first 4 things that I just mentioned, they would be synonymous with death, and that would not be cool.
Okay, not cool. So, to get this straight, anesthesia ensures that you 1, don't move, 2, don't have any awareness of anything going on in or around you, 3, you don't feel any pain, 4, you don't remember anything, and 5, you aren't just dead. And that 4th point is pretty damn interesting, not remembering. So I'm gonna go pretty philosophical for a sec, but what is the difference between not remembering something and not experiencing it to begin with? What's actually going on inside someone's head under anesthesia? Well, let's ask a doctor. Just kidding. Let's ask a real doctor.
It's actually interesting that you can give a single drug. Ether is a very, very small molecule. And you can render a patient into a state that you can actually conduct an operation on them. How does that happen? Up until now, I think most anesthesiologists and anesthesia researchers would tell you, we really don't know. So therein lies the mystery of anesthesia. How it actually occurs, or what's actually transpiring in the brain, remains essentially unknown.
So we don't really have a clue what's going on here. And when you think about it, that kind of makes sense. We know how pain works and we know why we feel it. So making someone unable to feel pain is pretty straightforward. We know how movement works and why we need that. So making someone unable to move, again, is pretty straightforward. But we don't really know why we're conscious to begin with. And without knowing that, it's kind of hard to work out how to make someone truly unconscious. It's a bit like if you don't know why the lights are on, it's kind of hard to work out how to turn them off again. And this is a little alarming when you consider just how frequently we're fiddling with that light bulb.
60,000 people a day.
What we do know is that it can go wrong, but we only know it's gone wrong when someone's able to remember and retell some aspect of the surgery. So, going back to my philosophical moment earlier, isn't it possible for someone to have woken up and experienced some excruciating element of a surgery, but then simply forgotten about it all afterwards? Because after all,
you have to be in a situation where you're unable to perceive pain and not have any memories, because that would be quite traumatic.
And it would be traumatic. So if we know that people can unexpectedly wake up during surgery, and there's a chance that even more people are waking up while, you know, their liver's being poked and their doctors are having Grey's Anatomy-esque conversations about sex and bathroom mold, only they're forgetting about the whole thing afterwards, then one, is that okay? And two, what the bloody hell can we do about it? Luckily, my good friends, there is a solution. So during surgeries and anesthesia, doctors are pretty sensible, so they do keep an eye on your vital signs, such as your blood pressure and your heart rate and things like that, just to make sure that one, you aren't dead, but two, you aren't too alive. However, this makes the assumption that if you do start to regain consciousness, then your body's going to start stressing out and you'll start sweating and your blood pressure will rise and your heart rate will go up and all that stuff. However, there's a small problem with this. You see, anesthesia actually suppresses these very things, so you can't reliably say that someone's unconscious just because their body isn't stressing out and their heart's not racing and things like that. So what can you monitor? Well, the brain. Duh. And this technology already exists. This snazzy machine, which looks like it's fresh out of 1982, is an electroencephalogram, which allows doctors to basically use squiggly lines to let them know how conscious someone is when they're undergoing surgery, which means that that 1 in 19,000 figure is only going to get smaller. The trouble is, it's only actually in use in about 17% of hospitals. So we've got some questions to answer. One, is it bad that people are currently experiencing extreme life-altering suffering during surgery? Of course. And is it bad that we're using a medical technique that we don't really understand up to 60,000 times every single day? I don't think so. You see, the strange irony in all of this is that medicine has somehow opened this weird gateway to understanding more about our consciousness on both a physiological but also a philosophical level. By some bizarre series of accidents, we've somehow become able to switch someone's brain off without killing them. We understand way more about the connection and disconnection between the consciousness of the body and the consciousness of the mind. And we're beginning to understand way more about what consciousness actually is. Is it the ability to experience your surroundings, or is it the ability to experience the sensations of your own body? And if you can't remember those sensations or those experiences, then were you ever conscious to begin with? What we know for now is that anesthesia is an incredibly complex medical technique that we use tens of thousands of times every single day without really having a clue how it works. We've taken millions of people within inches of death with great skill and precision, but no real understanding. So anesthesiologists of the world, I salute you, but also I think you're insane. But anyway, what do you think? Have you ever experienced anesthesia? Are you an anesthesiologist? Are you Professor Emery Brown? Because if so, I love your work. Either way, feel free to like, subscribe, spit some venom in a comment, do whatever you want. Otherwise, just keep chatting that breeze, my friends.